graduation requirement update. Mr. Messer, Ms. Mancina, and Ms. Locke.
Before we get started, I want to let you know that Rocky was a student of mine at Mesa Verde High School. So, Rocky, it's great seeing you. Well, this is difficult to beat. I'll tell you that right now. Rocky was an incredible student. So was his family at Mesa. You guys coming up? I brought friends tonight, but no students. So, well, they're here for support. So, good evening, President Costa, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. Tonight, I'm here with a team to update you on our work related to the implementation of our new graduation requirements. I'm going to introduce some folks. I'm here with my co-chair of the original committee that started this work 6 years ago, Nina Mancina, who helped us start this way back years ago, 20 years ago probably, when Nina actually started this movement. And Tracy Locke is here. She is our district counselor in her first year to support us. And we also have a group. Kristen Schnepp is here from PLI and her team. Nicole Kukrow, Nicole Naditz, Stacy Hernandez, and Paula Bacham are all here. And these are all of the folks that we're working with to build up to this moment. So tonight, we're really excited that we're finally at the point where we're about to implement these new requirements. And we talk about equity and opportunity and access. We truly are standing by what we say we believe in. And these requirements are going to give our students those things that in our old requirements did not openly do. And when we look at our belief statement, it talks about how our goal is to reduce predictability which students will fail by utilizing an equity lens to eliminate barriers. We actually, in some people's minds, may think we put up barriers by adding more to our requirements, but what we're doing is adding more opportunity and more opportunities to access. And over the last 3 years, since the board has approved these new requirements, we've been working towards the second bullet. In what ways does this decision ignore or worsen existing disparities? Because along this path, for the last 4 years, people have worried a lot. Is this decision going to hurt children? And I can tell you tonight, in my heart and all of our hearts, we know that we are going to provide our students greater opportunity to succeed in their future. So basically, in a nutshell, we're going to just take you through really what the requirements are and not go back too far. But basically, the new requirements for the class of 2023 is going to be a third year of math, a third year of science, 2 years of world language. Our freshmen and sophomores will be on a course plan aligned to A through G. But this is not an A through G requirement system, but they will be on a path. Every student who comes into our district, every parent who enters their child in a freshman year of high school in our district will be on a path to A through G with a flexibility along the way to make decisions based on their interests. And that flexibility is what makes this an important process, because we want to give our parents, our students, and our community the access to be on that path. So when they drop them off at the door, they're not just graduated from college, but they're on that path to being college ready and career ready. This is basically, we've worked for a number of years on how to best communicate this to our community, to our families, and to our students. And we've continued to work to advance it. And tonight we're going to go through and share with us, or share with you, the different pieces to these new requirements, and then take some questions. So tonight, we're going to talk about our communication plan. It's been a huge plan. It's been going on for years. And what we've learned many times over through SPG is you can't communicate enough. And even when you think you have, there are still gaps in our system. But truly, I can't offer enough thanks to our communication department and the work that they've done. And Nina and her team have continued to work around this. Tracy's going to take us through what we've been doing in counseling. We've heard a lot about counseling lately for our LCAP work and a need for counselors. Well, I can tell you our counselors have been working very hard towards this process the last few years, and Tracy's going to bring us up to date on that. Our program specialists are here in math, science, and world language, because this is where the coursework is rising up, and they've been doing a lot of work, and we've been doing a lot of work around providing new courses and implementing new standards along the way, which has changed the game in the middle of this process with NGSS coming aboard, with the new social studies requirements changing. I mean, we're in a state of change as it is, and we'll keep you up to date on that. And then we'll talk about the interventions and supports. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nina to take us through the plan.
Yes, and good evening. As Mr. Messer indicated, it is a big team here, and there's also Raj Rai from the communication team who's been working very closely with us. We've had multiple discussions about all of the infographics we've sent out. We've revised them hundreds and hundreds of times, so it definitely takes a group of people to put this on. When we started down this path, we knew that communication plan was going to be critical. And so we spent a lot of time around that plan to develop something that was quite comprehensive. We talked to many people long before we developed that plan, and then we've talked to people since. One of the first things that we did out of the box in our communication plan was to send a letter home to all 5th, 6th, and 7th grade parents last year. So they would now be 6th, 7th, and 8th grade parents. We sent that letter home telling them about the changes. We included the infographic at that time, and then we also engaged them in a thought exchange process to give us feedback on the requirements and also to identify supports that they felt their students would need. And we've adjusted the plan and the communication that we've done around that in response to what we heard from parents in that process. In addition to that, we have also begun, again, many years ago, went out to all of the district-appointed committees, parent groups, and now we are doing that again. So we most recently visited with the DLAC committee, and we also presented at the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee just recently. And those have been great processes because, again, we're getting feedback from parents now that this is real in people's heads. When we first started out, it was pretty far away. So people were like, okay, 2023, all right. And now people are like going, oh, okay, that's my child that's going to be in that. So it's been really great. And one of the interesting feedback we got from the special education group was their parents, they had already just registered students at Del Campo. Del Campo's already had the registration. And one of them expressed that their student was so excited about the flexible plan. And Tracy will talk a little bit more about that. But the flexibility that's been in a plan that allows them an opportunity to sort of create what they want their graduation requirement experience to be about. So definitely seeing some excitement. They also, one parent commented, they love the infographic because they could say to their child, see, I am telling you the truth. You do need to take these classes. So again, anything we can do to help with that is always appreciated. Again, we're going to go back out and talk to Curriculum Standards in May, and we're going to go to the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council as well. We also have a Parent Information Night coming up next week. And we are going to be doing just a brief presentation and really spending most of our time around questions and answers. Again, our partners here, our curriculum partners are going to be there to really talk about new courses that we're developing, particularly around the FEX plan. And then we also participated in a parent information night with the Family and Community Engagement Group that Tracy did recently. So the other component that we're doing is because we live in a world of social media. So we have been engaging in social media quite often. So our website talks about graduation requirements. We have a special San Juan Scene document that is included in your packet. We've been tweeting out a storm, which is my personal favorite. And so we ask people to respond back to our tweets. I always like them. But that's been really beneficial. And then we also had podcasts, and we're talking about maybe doing some other vision of streaming or some other tools that we have out there to utilize. So down the road, we are going to be doing some expansion to talk to our business community because we want to engage them in this dialogue and help them understand kind of how we're looking at graduation requirements, what the flexible path looks like, and again, to get their feedback and input on that piece as well. And then one of my most exciting components, because those of you who know me know I love this, and that is the student-to-student conversation. So we've done some listening circles, but we really want to bring students in to talk to other students about the graduation requirements and the importance of identifying what your path is. Because really a lot of this for me began around this notion of meandering towards graduation, that we want to change how people perceive what they want to do with their futures and that they're leading this purposeful life that helps guide them. So that's sort of what the plan is built around. So I'll turn it back over to Tracy.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, good. Wore my tall shoes. Good evening. I would like to share a little bit about what's going on in the counseling world. As you know, counselors are, in large part, the experts and ambassadors when it comes to graduation requirements. And I've really tried to take ownership of that and champion with the counselors every time I meet with them, whether it be elementary, middle, high school, that this is your area, and let's be the experts for your campus. And part of that is creating the language and the message to communicate so it directs the mindsets, because it's all about perspective. It's all about, sometimes how you communicate, and that if we start that way right off the bat and be very purposeful, like Nina mentioned, about the language. One of the reasons we started changing the infographics and saying this is a college and career ready graduation plan. We're not talking about the new graduation requirements. These are the requirements that are going to produce well-prepared students, whether it be for whatever option they lead. So with that, we have a pretty big training tomorrow, actually, right here in the boardroom for all of the secondary counselors. If you noticed from the incoming ninth registration nights, a couple of the schools have already had theirs. So I actually went out to those schools directly and kind of did a pre-training with those groups so they could be prepared and be armed with the information to answer questions and really feel that they could communicate the message in a positive way to parents. And I'm happy to report that both Mira Loma and Del Campo's nights went great. The reaction from students and parents was very positive. In fact, most of the time when parents and students enter high school, they're under an assumption that most of these requirements already are in existence, so the transition was pretty smooth, and there wasn't a whole lot of questioning around it. We do have 50,000 pieces of marketing material that we ordered. We actually ordered a poster of the infographic for every classroom in a secondary school. We've already sent them to the high schools, and the middle schools will be getting them as well. And we're working on an amended infographic to put down in elementary to kind of focus on the importance of reaching goals and give meaning to that. We also are pushing the 8th grade use of Naviance, and I'm actually happy to hopefully she's still here, Victoria Allenbaugh in the back. She's our counselor at Will Rogers. She leads the district in the Naviance course plans for her 8th graders. We give you a little shout out. Almost 90% of the 8th graders at Will Rogers have a course plan in Naviance, and that is up extremely from last year. Barrett is a second behind her, but there really is a push to use Naviance and to use that tool and to use that course plan. So with that, this is kind of an example of what a course plan might look like done during that 8th grade year. It's a very general plan that's going to set students on a path of not only meeting the graduation requirements, but also meeting those A through G requirements. If a student earns a C, at least in all of their classes, and takes the ACT or the SAT sometime in their high school career, with this plan, they will be A through G eligible. And even meeting that minimum requirement of a C, they will have acceptance into a number of CSUs with a minimum score on the SAT. So it really does change the options for students. Even if they do choose to start at a community college, just having that eligibility, it changes the direction of the courses that they can take because they're more prepared. There we go. On to math. There you go.
Well, going back to that graphic, and there were more in your packet around this. I mean, basically, what's important to know is in the past, a student had to step on this track when they came into our system. Now we're going to put them on that track, and that's the flexibility. By that junior year, they have choices that they can make based on their interests, and that's an important change that we want to make sure you recognize.
Those alternate course requests are within the appendix.
So in terms of math, one of the big things, we've added an additional year of math with that level being IM2. This is raising the bar. In the freshman year, all freshmen take IM1. They'll be taking IM2. So our goal is to make sure over the last few years we've been coming to you, sharing with you the work around math, around the interventions, the supports, the summer programs, and the work around math, not only at the high schools, but the middle and the elementary. All of that work is building up to this point, and we're going to continue to monitor all levels to make sure our students are coming. With that, we have also been working on new courses to make sure that our students, as they get closer to starting, that we're going to have some supports in place. The Math Foundations Workshop is new this year. It's a Tier 3. We introduced the math modeling 2 years ago as a bridge between our IM1s and our IM2s for our students who passed IM1 with a D or low C as a way to help them in their success to IM2. As we shared earlier, financial math is now an option for students who in their third year could take that instead of IM3 or an AP course, as well as 2 more courses for our 12th graders. And we would really like our 12th graders to stay engaged in math. It's a clear indicator of success in college if you take math in your senior year. And we're really happy about Math Camp. This is that 3-week program before the start of the school year in 3, 6, and 9 that's really helping to bridge kids who show that they have a little bit of struggle, but with a little bit of support will hopefully prevent them from falling behind in the beginning. A big shift in this requirement is science. We are now right at the door of implementing the new NGSS standards. And with that said, we have adopted the new 3-course model pathway, which means that earth science now is going to be embedded in the life science and the 2 physical sciences as part of that pathway. So our freshmen will take either a life science or physics in their freshman year. We do have San Juan High School offers physics right now for their freshmen. And then they will take a second-year class. And in that third year, they have the option to continue or to take other science classes that we have in the system, such as earth science or AP sciences or whatever their interests are. So the first 2 will be solid. And again, the AP classes can be offered as choices for our students also. World language is a big shift in our system because before our requirements, world languages were not required. It could be an option in the past of either taking a 1 world language course or a VAPA course or half of one, half of the other. We currently now have set in motion 2 years of a world language, the first year being a required A through G course with an option for a second year. And we've been working on ways to provide our students not only different course options, such as American Sign Language, which we brought on board last year at Del Campo and Bella Vista, but other ways of recognizing students who are bilingual and giving them opportunities to take proficiency exams in a way that they can satisfy requirements so that even though they may not get the credit, they will get the recognition that they can meet the requirements. And so our folks here can give you some more detail on that. And also we're working to embed more of these courses in middle school. So if our kids can take a world language in the 8th grade year, that could count towards one of those courses towards graduation. So a lot of work in this area to provide flexibility. And we're also new standards coming forward where the way we're going to be teaching our world languages is going to be so much better. And if you ask that question, it's no more conjugating verbs, right? Right? I know. Never, but more language spoken. Again, we've shared with you a lot of detail about our intervention programs and supports. And again, a lot of the work that we've been trying and piloting is building up to this point now to make sure that our students who do come in and who may struggle, we have opportunities to support them. I think right now we know that we've had a lot of success with our high school credit recovery programs at each of the high schools. Students are able to stay on track or who fall off track and stay on campus and get caught up. And, our numbers are dwindling in a lot of our other programs because they're showing the ability to catch up. So we're going to continue that. And again, our summer programs, our intercession, and again, other alternative programs at El Sereno and La Entrada are available for students who want to be outside of, and the unschool, outside of a traditional comprehensive campus. So our ongoing steps, again, we're going to be meeting soon with the parents, having a parent night. We're starting our high school registration nights. Tracy meets with our counselors on a monthly basis. So again, as we meet with the principals and update them on this work, Tracy's meeting with the counselors. We're going step in step to make sure everyone is aware and we're supporting them and hearing what's happening in the field. The communication plan will be ongoing, as well as the most important thing is as we start this next year that we monitor a lot of things. One, registration is going to be key. As the kids enroll right now, we want to see where they're enrolling in the courses, when we're taking the courses, monitoring their enrollment in courses. As we go further into that third year, that's when we'll start seeing the flexibility take place, and we'll have an idea of where we're going to need to address staffing issues or whatever comes up. But what I will guarantee you is we're going to be monitoring from the beginning, because this is something that we understand. We're asking more of our students. We're asking more of our staff and our teachers, our counselors. But it's the right thing to do, and it's going to benefit all of our students in our community. So with that, President Costa, we're open for questions, and everyone's available.
Wonderful. Dr. McKibben?
First of all, one of the things that I wanted to say was that it's been very exciting over the last couple of years to sit on Curriculum and Standards Committee and to watch the number of new courses come through. I don't claim to have accurate numbers, but it seems like it's been about 30 courses that have come through in terms of to be electives, to provide the kinds of flexibility and so forth. One caution, though, I will tell you that from the Curriculum and Standards Committee is that one of the things that we found was that in many cases those courses that were coming through were from a particular high school and not well spread across the entire system. That's going to be a major challenge, and particularly when we notice that altogether too frequently the courses that were coming for the higher wealth high schools and so forth. So we've got some real work to do on that one. A couple of questions that I have in terms of one of the things also, as I've traveled into some high schools, I've noticed that the use of Naviance has been, shall we say, quite a bit different from school to school. And so forth. And so I think that we've got some work to do there, because I think that Naviance is really critical in terms of telling the students where they are, if they're on track, giving them the kinds of options and flexibility that are out there. Have we, in terms of the kinds of things that we've done a good deal of training across the board, including instructional assistants and so forth? Because I think that a lot of people knowing about Naviance, I think, is going to be critical for the success of this program.
I agree with you. I'm a huge champion and proponent and give shout-outs to use Naviance whenever I can, and it is sporadic. In getting the usage reports from Naviance, you can see its wealth in the system of a lot of schools, and then not so much in others. So I think expanding into the classrooms with the teachers and instructional assistants and integrating into what they already do, the tool for them to use, is crucial. Right now, I've mainly focused on the counselors, and I'm very open to expand, but there hasn't been anything purposeful. But I think that's a direction that we should definitely move in. We added a new position into our career college and career readiness department, and a counselor who's starting in the middle of April, finally backfilling my position from last year, and that's going to be her main focus, is to go to the campuses and kind of do a little needs assessment to see where the target areas should be about who needs that Naviance training. Because we also have a rep from Hobson's, and we have training hours from her through our contract. So she is available to. She basically Skyped in for a training at Encina a couple of weeks ago, and she's available. It just takes coordination. So that's going to be the direction for sure.
Okay. Another question related to mathematics, and I'm trying to see if an example. For example, we have the Math Foundations workshop and the math modeling, neither one of these are actually counted as one of the 3 courses. Is that correct? Or could someone take, for example, IM1 and then take math modeling?
Yes, that's the current process.
But all right, let me try this one. Could they take Math Foundations and then IM1 and then Math Modeling, and that would be their 3 courses?
Credits?
So,
Hello. The Math Foundations workshop course was approved as an elective credit.
Yeah.
It doesn't count for math credit.
Right.
But the intention is after completion of Math Foundations workshop, the student would go to IM1, which is credit bearing, then perhaps math modeling, then IM2. So the intent, and that is for math credit. Math modeling is for math credit.
Math modeling is for math credit.
It currently is, and it will in the future.
So you could avoid IM2 and still... No, you have to take IM2.
That is the requirement to graduate from the new requirement.
Okay. All right. I'm going to do a science question now. And
Paula?
so I know that geology... Yeah.
Before you go on,
So with the math, Rick, if you can clarify that a little bit, because as you've talked before about kind of personalization of this plan, and currently as it is, the 3 years at IM2 would qualify you for the A through G?
They would have to complete IM3 to complete the A3. But we're requiring IM2 is the highest math, and then they have that flexibility to either stay in the path, which they would be enrolled in, into that, or they would choose to get out. And the choice at that point is they have to get out of IM3 versus stay into it. But they have to complete a third year of math.
Okay.
So that as we talked earlier, that in terms of in science, geology / earth science have been integrated into the other sciences. Is it possible, and do we have the capacity so far to have earth science still be an elective and count as the 3rd science course? And is there enough capacity in the school district to have what has been the success in having different kinds of science courses become that 3rd year of science?
Well, and we're in the process of figuring that out right now. So we're looking at implementing the NGSS 3 course pathway, and we've come to agreement that it's going to be Earth integrated. So students are going to get Earth standards within the biology course, within the chemistry course, within the physics course. But for our graduation requirements, they have to take a life science, so biology, and then a physical science, which could be chemistry or physics. But within that is earth science. So there could be the possibility when we start looking at developing additional elective courses, earth science might be a course that could be developed. Other ones might include like the anatomy and physiology course, different AP courses. Those could all be considered elective courses. And part of the process when we once we have our pathway developed, we're going to look at what additional elective courses can be developed to support the 3-year graduation requirement above and beyond the 3-year NGSS course pathway.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to do a world language course now. One of the things that in my former life of pushing things and including words like world language to describe this, as I was leaving that job, ASL was becoming one of the most popular of the world languages. Also, there wasn't a credential for it, but and I suspect there probably still isn't, and so forth. But I know that for all world languages, and particularly for ASL, there is a particular shortage of teachers. How do you expect, I mean, that we're moving to this thing, and I suspect other districts are also doing that sort of thing. how much trouble are we going to be in finding the teachers to teach these courses?
Yeah, staffing is certainly something that we've had a lot of discussion about because world language teachers are relatively rarer than some of the other subject areas. In particular, the ASL teacher who's currently working in our district, it did take those schools a significant amount of time to find her and hire her. That being said, I think one of the strategies that Nicole and I have already used is to really reach out to organizations that support world language teachers, to post on their job boards, to engage in networks. Nicole, being a former National Teacher of the Year for world language, has a tremendous network of teachers that she can also reach out to. And so when we were in the search for the ASL teacher, we did post on World Language Teacher Association job boards. We've also reached out to the World Language, or the ASL, exactly, language-specific professional organizations. In terms of world language ASL in particular, Lisa Young, the teacher currently at Bella Vista and Del Campo, has provided suggestions for reaching out to Gallaudet University, which has a significant teaching program. I believe that's actually where she graduated from. And so, we're working on creative ways to really reach out to the larger world language teacher community and recruit from there.
Okay. Just finally, thank you all. I do agree that we are worried about barriers, but in fact, this really is opportunities and so forth. And the truth is that we're, in many cases, catching up with the rest of the state rather than our normal place of leading the state in this area. So, congratulations and good luck. This is going to be a bumpy ride.
Other questions, Ms. Greason?
Just two quick things. First, I just want to say, as a parent of a sixth grader, I very much appreciated the level of communication on these changes. My son has come home with the flyers. I know that graphic well. And it's been a variety of different ways of communicating these changes. So just as, stakeholder hat on, it's been great, the level of communication. I really appreciate that. And then my question is, can you speak a little bit about how school sites are being supported in these changes, implementing these changes?
Can you be more specific in terms of support?
Well, school sites are expected to deliver this.
So the work that we've been doing over the last few years related to building supports, interventions at the sites, again, making sure that the credit recovery programs, the work and the trainings as we build the new courses in. I mean, we've been building towards this step by step. So every school has gained a lot of opportunities, I think, in this process that may not have looked like we were doing it. This was a graduation requirement project. It was a credit recovery project, or it was EOS, for example, is an opportunity that, again, all the schools are involved in opening that access for an AP courses. That may not relate directly to why did we do that? It's the right thing to do to get more kids access and opportunity, but that's also going to build into these requirements and then the opportunities to go more advanced in their work. So we've been working with the counselors. We're working with the grade level or the courses, the science, the world language, and the math over the years, and more intensively now than we have in the past. And then working with, it's going to be staffing is one of the things we need to monitor, and where are the gaps. And we know that world language, we're going to have some gaps potentially. But one of the things we did in this requirement, and one of the questions that came forward was, what about our electives? Well, under our old requirements, world language was an elective. VAPA was an elective. Well, now VAPA, world language, and CTE are requirements. So those programs actually now have a place in this work. So although they're electives, the type of electives they take may be different. We're still giving those kids opportunities to take those courses. So we think we've done a lot. We're going to listen, and we're going to do more. I mean, there's still a lot of unknown, but we've tried to take it on as it's come at us.
Ms. Greason, can I add a little bit to that? I think it's, as much as it's individual schools, it's a whole systems approach, because this is impacting the system. And that's where you look at, through curriculum and standards, and identifying new courses that can support throughout the district. That's where working directly with the counselors. I had the opportunity to be in the vice principal meeting the other day, and actually, Nicole was talking to the vice principals about the changes that, and both middle and high school that's going to happen related to the language and how that's going to be instructed. So it's so deep. I think what will happen is that as we're going into this, and thank you, Dr. McKibben, for reminding us it'll be a bumpy road, but I think we're trying to be as proactive and identify where we need to address some things, and we know we've got some areas of concerns, whether that'll be language teachers, whether that'll be other areas. I think we really need to be nimble when some of those things come upon us that, you try and identify everything that might happen, but we know we don't have a crystal ball. So there will be some of those things. So just being responsive. And I think even seeing the team that you have here, the interesting thing, and Nina really didn't say this, but Nina, you first started having this conversation in the district about changing the graduation requirements in what year? 2000. And then we returned again in what year? And then I think we did it one more time. And then we came back, and so this was a process for many years that we really tried and never got any traction. And we got traction a number of years ago, and I think working with everybody on this, and that's why we took a slower approach, because I think we knew we didn't have the capacity and the understanding to be where we are, and I think we're still going to learn through that process.
Ms. Fiasco?
Mr. Messer, I heard the remark about IM3, and so in order to be eligible to meet all the A through G requirements, you have to successfully complete IM3 as well. So on slide 14, this revised plan at the bottom no longer meets A through G requirements. Is that correct?
Right.
I just want to make sure that all of the counseling staff and most importantly the families and students know that at that point, and I get that it's kind of deliberately placed there because at that point you're making a proactive choice to engage in this kind of flex plan opportunity, but I just want to make sure we're making it very clear that they are then kind of removing them from themselves from the A through G process.
And that's exactly one of the reasons we wanted to share this with you, is it is alternate paths that students can get to. And even though in the revised plan, this is an example, Dr. McKibben, where they took IM1, they took the Math Bridge course, which we called Math Modeling, they finish IM2. Then it's up to them at that point. They can make that decision because they would have satisfied that requirement potentially today if we maintained that requirement. But the goal, hopefully, we can encourage them to stay in it. And hopefully we can encourage them to stay in IM3. The difference is they wouldn't, in the old system, they would be finished at IM2. And then they would have to go to a box and fill it in the old system. IM3 will be on there, and they're going to have to go out of their way to get out.
Got it.
That's what we're hoping for. We want a parent to get involved and a student to get involved, to sit with the counselor and say, I want my son or daughter out of this.
Right.
Okay,
this is a deliberate choice we're making instead of kind of starting on an inadequate path.
And this is where CTE programs and this is where our other elective programs can come into play to support making them not only college but career ready.
And another key point in that is the language is it's also important to remember that once maybe you meet with a counselor in your 10th grade year and you make the decision, okay, well, I'm not going to attempt to do IM3 my junior year, maybe I'll repeat IM2, maybe that automatically puts you off of a path of completing A through G. That decision can be reversed, even if you notice there's room in the 12th grade schedule to say, okay, no, my math light bulb has gone on, and I want to attempt IM3, or I did some remediation over summer, and I think I want to attempt it. There is still that flexibility as well. It's just the continued conversation.
Got it. I think my general concern lies in if a student at any point needs remediation in IM1 or IM2, at that point, it's a struggle to fulfill the A through G requirements, and quite frankly, what we've been seeing suggests that all of our school sites could use a lot more support in both of those classes. And so I just felt the need to express that grave concern. Like my eyes right now, I'm very concerned.
As are we.
Well, but I would say this. Those aren't students historically that have even had a chance to apply for A through G. They have, like we had kids that would take Algebra 1A, at a block school, their freshman year, their first semester, Algebra 1B, their second semester, and they're done with math. So the beauty of this is we're now at least putting them on the road. And so they're going to have an opportunity where historically they never did in this district because they were never even put on that path. I'm with you. I'm worried, but these were students before that. And I heard someone say, well, these are students that probably aren't going to go to UC and sex. Well, okay, maybe, but let's at least give them a chance. Let's
I
at least
agree,
give them a chance.
And I am 100% a proponent of higher expectations and raising them, but we have an obligation to make sure that we're supporting our students to get there for raising that bar.
Absolutely.
And it's one that I know, I'm sure you all take very seriously, but one that I expect to be met.
Very serious.
Well, and I can say when San Diego Unified went to this, they went to it a number of years ago, and as have other districts. There were a lot of people that said, watch, your graduation rates are going to drop. Didn't happen. It hasn't happened, throughout the state. And I believe the same thing will happen here. There's no reason to say that they won't. I look at the team that we have working on this, and again, we're gonna work through that, and then there are going to be students that are having opportunities. The same with what we've done through EOS and students having access to AP classes. I look at it the same way. We want to make sure we're supporting those students in that class. Vanessa Adolfson sent me an email today. I was at the College and Career Fair, and she was talking to me about they're having more students this year that are getting into UCs and state colleges than they ever have. And even some colleges are waiting on a student potentially getting into Stanford, UCLA. They haven't had some students go to some of those schools in years. And I think it's because of the opportunities that we're giving students that we might not have 10 years ago. And I hope that 10 years from now, we're seeing those numbers even expand more. And Paul, one of the great things is I remember something that you said stood out to me is that when your mom enrolled you in her district, there was kind of an expectation that you were being put on this pathway, and we weren't. And we have refugees coming to our country, other parents that might not understand our college system, and they're assuming we're putting, and probably, Zima with a younger child, you probably don't understand the college system as well as some others, So if we have parents that are like that, I didn't when my kids were in elementary and middle, and there's kind of this belief we're setting them on that path, and when that's what I'm excited about. We're giving them the opportunity now, and I look forward to in future years coming back to the board and presenting information with the challenges we're faced with, the multiple areas of IM, how we're doing recruiting teachers for the languages, what new electives are being identified at schools or other new programs. Because, Dr. McKibben, I don't think we're going to stop identifying courses. I hope curriculum and standards continue to have courses brought to them that can benefit our students.
And on that note, I did want to just kind of express a disappointment, not with anybody here, but just kind of with the system. Have we really not been able to update science? Like, it's still just biology, chemistry, and physics. I would love to see even electives that kind of branched out a little bit more. And they're probably not listed here, but I just,
the
these
new
are
course,
the
the NGSS courses,
Yeah.
Paula can give you a great update of what these new courses are.
Okay, I think I would love to see it. Even on the electives side, I have got to believe that we've modernized this and made it a little more interesting as a kind of quote-unquote a not science student.
There's a huge amount. I guess probably the biggest change in the sciences is the instructional shifts. So it's going from kids essentially memorizing information to, acting like scientists. So really embedding the science and engineering practices. There's cross-cutting concepts. It's a whole new way of students doing science than just kind of the taking in the lecture and then regurgitating the information. So it's a whole new paradigm and a shift that I think is really, really exciting. It's all about application. The way earth science is embedded is it's taking, for example, chemistry and then looking at how that impacts ocean acidification. So it's an application looking at climate change. So there's all these pieces, I think, that are really exciting. So I think you'll be pleased.
All right. Your excitement gets me excited. We'll call it a day. Thank you. That's it.
Other questions or comments? I remember when we started looking at this, and I had counselors emailing me and calling me, and actually high school principals emailing me and calling me, and saying, if you're just going to talk about this and then delay it again and again and say, we can't do this, this is too hard, this is a hard road for us to take, don't waste our time anymore. And I said, well, I wasn't part of the decision-making before that said those things. And I know it's going to be rough, and I know that there are going to be some times where we make some missteps. But I believe, although I'm just one person on the board, that all of the board members have talked about this in terms of equity. And so I was really pleased when the vote came that night and that everybody was on board. And then we started looking at how we were going to communicate this. I mean, just that little piece of it. And when I looked at the communication plan for this, I thought, you really did cover every base. And I'm really proud of the work. And yes, I do know there's going to be some bumpy times. And I do know that some kids may opt off the path for A to G. But I think a whole lot more are going to stay on the path that gives them opportunities that we've never had before at some of our schools. And so kudos to each and every one of you. I think we'll weather the bumpiness until it's just part of our history and we just move forward. So thank you very much for your work. We really appreciate it. And it's been a long road, but you've gotten us here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.